Hello everyone, Tawana Michelle here, mental health therapist and narcissistic abuse recovery coach. And today I am going to talk to you about the different types of abuse that you may experience with a narcissist. If you have been in a relationship with a narcissist in any form, then you most likely have suffered some form of abuse. So there are 5 different types of abuse. There's emotional abuse. There is psychological abuse, there is financial abuse, there is physical abuse, and there is sexual abuse. So I'm going to talk a little bit about each of those different types of abuse to give you some examples or just help you understand a little bit about what may take place when a narcissist is abusing you in this particular way. So the first one I'm going to talk about is emotional abuse. It's probably the most common form of abuse that narcissists use, in addition to psychological abuse. If you are not currently experiencing at least emotional abuse, you will. They're all abusive in some way emotionally. Let me just say this. I included verbal abuse as a part of emotional abuse. Some may say verbal abuse is its own classification of abuse. I don't know. It could be that you can, make it its own classification, or you can just lump it with emotional abuse, because verbal abuse damages one emotionally. Okay, so we're talking about how does the type of abuse affect you? Where do you feel the harm? Where does the harm take place? So with emotional abuse, there is verbal abuse. There are verbal insults and put downs. There are things that are said and done to try to humiliate you and to shame you. The narcissist will also try to do things to make you afraid of them, which, depending on what they do, that could also be a form of psychological abuse as well. But they intentionally try and cause fear. They might be very controlling and isolate you from all your friends and family. They want you to be all about them. So they don't want you to have other people in your life, mainly because they don't want you giving any of yourself to others. They only want you to make them happy, but they also don't want witnesses, right? They don't want you sharing with friends and family about what's going on. They don't want friends and family noticing what's going on and doing something about it. So they're going to isolate you from anyone else that you may have had a supportive relationship with prior to the narcissist coming into your life. They will, control where you go, what you eat, what you do. They will check your phone. You won't have any privacy. They'll be checking all your social media accounts. And basically they'll treat you like you're a child. Like they have authority over you. They're the authority figure. You have to do what they say. They may also threaten to harm you physically. So we're going to talk about physical abuse, but sometimes they get physical, sometimes they don't, okay? But if they are threatening to hurt you physically, threatening to hurt you is intimidation. It is abuse. It's emotional abuse. Again, they're trying to cause fear. They're trying to cause you to feel unpleasant emotions, sadness, fear, anxiety. They don't want you to feel confident in yourself. They want you afraid. They want you insecure. They want your self-esteem low. So all of this is to keep the power dynamics as such that they have all the power, you have none. They have all the confidence, you have none. They feel emotionally balanced. They're not, but they feel emotionally balanced. You don't at all. So those are examples of how they may inflict emotional abuse on you. The second type of abuse that I'm going to talk about is psychological abuse. Now, emotional abuse has to do with, what you feel. I feel sad, I feel angry, I feel afraid, I feel unworthy. That has to do with what you feel. So the types of emotional abuse that I mentioned affect how you feel, but if you feel bad about yourself and you are afraid, then you also start to think differently. So that's where the psychological abuse comes into play. Psychological abuse affects how you think and how you perceive things, your perception. So the main form of psychological abuse that the narcissist is going to use is going to be gaslighting. Gaslighting is a manipulation strategy that they use to make you doubt your reality, to make you question yourself, to make you feel like you're losing your mind, like you're literally going crazy. So when they're gaslighting you, and emotional and psychological abuse, I think, overlap greatly. Because when they're gaslighting you, not only are you starting to think differently and you think, maybe I'm losing my mind, maybe I can't trust my own judgment, maybe I need some help, but then you also start to feel bad. You also start to feel anxious and maybe have panic attacks and start to feel afraid. So emotional and psychological abuse are often going to go hand in hand. And it doesn't matter like where you place the abuse in which category. What matters is that you know when you are being abused so that you can call it that. Call it what it is. I know for me, when I was with a narcissist and there were things that were going on that were abusive, I don't know if I didn't see it that way when it was happening or I just didn't want to see it that way. We do have our denial where we just don't want to acknowledge that we are in an abusive situation. But, it got to where there was obvious abuse that was undeniable. And abuse progresses. I'm not going to say it always progresses to a physical point, but it often does. And I don't know if I said this when I was talking about the threats of harm, being emotionally abusive. Threats of harm often lead to actual physical harm. So don't take any threats lightly, okay? In fact, that's the next form of abuse that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about physical abuse. That's something that I also was not very clear about. I thought physical abuse meant, okay, they have to be beating me, right? Slapping me around, hitting me with the closed fist, leaving marks and bruises. But that's not the case. Any unwanted physical contact is considered an assault, which is considered abuse. They don't have to leave marks or bruises. Pulling hair, shoving you, pinching you, any unwanted physical contact, if they are doing anything to you aggressively, physically, I don't care if it's not hitting, it's physical abuse. And the fourth type of abuse that you may experience with a narcissist is financial abuse. If you are married to the narcissist and y'all have one account, he might control all the money. He might withhold finances from you for no reason at all or as a punishment when he's angry with you. He may drain your account if y'all don't have one account. If you're not married and you're just dating a narcissist, he may come up with reasons why he needs money and you end up giving him huge amounts of money that you can't afford to give. You take out loans for him that he never pays back. He gets loans from you that he never pays back. He destroys your credit. He gets things in your name. Even if you allow it, because some of you may be thinking, well, I did allow him to get this car in my name and, I did give him my credit card. And listen, if you are with the narcissist, remember the emotional and psychological abuse that affects how you feel and how you think. You were manipulated into doing that. And so you did something you probably would not have done otherwise. He knows how to manipulate you, or she. I'm sorry, I always say he. It's because that's been my experience. But I know there are female narcissists. They manipulate you into doing things that are clearly bad judgment on your part. And then when it's all over, you're like, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? Because you were in an abusive relationship. When you are in an abusive relationship, you're in survival mode. You do what you do in the moment to survive, to make it through the day without a big fight, without getting, hit or shoved, without being called a name, without the threats that they're going to go out and cheat on you. Oh, I didn't add that. When I talked about emotional abuse, oh, that's a big one. Threats to leave you, threats to cheat on you. So when you're in an abusive relationship, you do things you would not normally do. So it's not your fault. Do not blame yourself. Oh, and another type of financial abuse is when they won't let you work. That's another form of control as well. They don't want you to have your own money. They won't allow it. That's another form of financial abuse, so that you are 100% dependent on them financially. So if that's going on, and they might say, I want to take care of you. I want you to not be stressed out by a job. Now, I'm not saying that's not, that is necessarily a bad thing if you're in a relationship with someone who really means it and they're doing it for the right reasons. And I'm not talking about, forcing. I'm saying giving you the option of whether you want to work or not. But with the narcissist, you have to remember that everything they do is for their own good, for their own gain. It's never about you. So if they say, I don't want you to work because I just want to take care of you, you need to know there's more to it than that. They want to take care of you means I want to control you. I want you to depend on me for money for everything. I don't want you to go on a job and be around people. I want you all to myself. And I don't want anyone to know that I'm abusive to you. I don't want you to have any support. I want to isolate you so I can do whatever I want and you have no one to turn to. That's what they're doing. The fifth and last type of abuse that you might experience with a narcissist is sexual abuse. Even if you're married to these people, married people can get sexually abused too. Any unwanted sexual contact, any pressuring you to have sex, any harassing you, doing physical things with you in public, that you don't consent to, making sexual jokes about you, saying negative things about you sexually. That's all sexual abuse. So if you're with a narcissist, you might be experiencing all of these things. If you're not, as I mentioned, at the very least, you are being emotionally abused. And I would add psychologically abused. Again, they go hand in hand. So if you are questioning, is this person abusive? First of all, if you have to ask yourself that, then that person is abusive. You got your answer. We don't typically have to question if someone is abusive in a healthy relationship. We don't typically have to question if someone is abusing us if they're not doing anything that looks like abuse. And if it looks like abuse, it is abuse. If it feels like abuse to you, it is abuse. And that's the important thing. There are these types of abuse that I've mentioned, but anything that feels abusive to you, that doesn't feel right, that feels hurtful, that feels harmful, that feels intentional, if it feels like abuse to you and you have to question it, it's abuse. So you already have your answer, but I just want you guys to know this because, the more you know, the more you can be empowered, the more you can take control of your situation, the more you can assess whether or not you need to be in that relationship and what steps you need to take moving forward, and how to keep yourself safe, and how to get some help for yourself and reach out and get support and start to build healthy relationships so that you know the difference between what's healthy and what's not, what's abusive and what's not. And it's a process. It takes time. Like I knew all of this. I knew the different types of abuse. I just didn't see it when it was happening to me because I didn't want to. And I wasn't watching videos like this where people were just putting it out there where I couldn't, I had to accept it and couldn't deny it. And that's why I'm making this video for you guys. So if you have any comments or any questions about this topic, put it in the comment section down below. If you have any questions, put that down as well. If you have any ideas for future video topics, put that in the comment section down below as well. And also, if you like this video, guys, give it a big thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that a lot. That means a lot to me, and it does help my channel, that YouTube algorithm. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting on? I'd love to have you be a part of this community. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care. Bye.